it. I am your host, Prince of Nepal, known as Gunjan. Sadly, Mac is away, but don't worry, I have an even better replacement, a guy that's better at Mario Party than Mac Dewey himself. Dunsey, how are you doing?
Thank you for all the compliments. This is a very warm welcome. Max sent us a very warm picture. He is out in paradise on the beach, by the pool, wherever he is. It looks sunny. Meanwhile, we have thunderstorms over here. But it's good to be on the desk with you, Gunjan.
I'm excited. You know, this is a challenger brain and some old man hands that are kind of left the shell of myself. So I'm excited to have another kind of analyst break down some mid-league action because, again, mid-league this season has been super exciting. There's been a lot of upsets, a lot of teams that we thought came in, were kind of hyped up and kind of fell apart, and some teams that have talked a lot of mess and it also kind of fell apart. So I'm excited to see, especially as we get into week 4, how the standings shake out, because it looks like we're kind of starting to establish the top echelons of teams like the CB Rushes, the No Fear Wolves, and the Fevers, but there's also some of the challengers like the Buckies, the Shadow Blade Slashes, and this week especially we'll be seeing Shadow Blade Slash trying to compete to break into that top 4 when they face Elventus Amber.
I'm excited for it. I mean, you kind of touched on it. Shadow Blade Slash is one of those teams where I didn't really see them doing extremely well in the mid-league. I think it's very competitive, this split, but they've been surprising so far with a 5-4 record. I love that. I think that they, as a unit, cohesively has grown. I'm going to steal your guys' notes tonight, and I know that there's certainly bot lane focus, which is the lanes that I'm going to be searching for in this particular matchup between Elventus and Shadow Blade Slash.
Yeah, and both of them are coming off an 0-3 week in week number 3, and both of them did end up facing really strong competition. Obviously, Elventus Amber faced CB Rush, kind of the kings, the hidden kings of mid-league that we sadly haven't been able to see on stream, but they've just been quietly dominating everywhere. Acid looks like he's back in MVP form. Rutledge still looks like that all-pro top laner, and Frosty's just holding down the mid, who was my all-pro second mid-league, so mid-league team. So again, CB Rush, it was a rough week 3 for Elventus Amber, and the same with Shadow Blade Slash, as they were kind of in that dogfight versus Bucky Stratosphere, team that has been kind of upsurging through the mid-league standings. Started off weak, but they've just been like pretty much dominating performance after dominating performance. So both teams are trying to get a rebound, and especially for Elventus Amber, they're trying to find some footing in that top 6 spot, because again, the top 6 teams will be the ones that make it into playoffs, and you need these games. You need these wins wherever you can, especially against a team that's kind of close to you in the rankings. It's going to be important to really get one of these wins. But as we transition into the draft, Dunsey, we see the Bard ban. I know Cam is excited for it already, but for the side of Elventus Amber, that Shen ban being targeted towards that top side, it is an incredibly strong pick for the side of Chief and for the side of, Bird King himself. So again, a champion that's just banned out for both sides.
Yeah, the Shen just brings so much global pressure. It doesn't matter at what elo you're in, what kind of even comp you're running. It can help dive compositions. It can peel your AD carries, protect that Kog'Maw or that Aphelios that you have. We're not going to see Aphelios tonight, but any sort of comp, it fits in. It's very blindable. You can early rotation it, so I do like that ban. You see Varus, which is the premier AD carry in the bot lane right now, too. Just the fact that Varus is able to take hella blades as a rune allows him flexibility in his build paths. You'll probably see lethality more likely. And then here comes a Nocturne ban coming out from Elventus.
The Nocturne ban, but also the Nautilus ban. Again, Icarus will be sending out memes. He's already sent memes to us about the Nautilus flex jungle support top lane, all of these lanes. We won't be seeing it here as it, again, patch has just come out, and the Nautilus changes to kind of increase his jungle tempo has been it's been kind of mixed results, but I think that he is a strong jungler that can offer a lot of CC. So just being thrown away from Shadow Blade Slash, not wanting to deal with it. And then the Thresh ban for the side of Shadow Blade Slash's bot lane, where Metapods is pretty dominant on that pick. It's one of his main champs alongside the Nami and Leona. So it's interesting to see that being banned out, as there's a lot of focus in the bot lane. That's what I'm excited for, because again, as we've transitioned into the meta, bot lane has taken a big focus just because dragon stacking has become so important. So you need to pick these strong bot lanes, and you know who's a strong bot lane, Dunsey? Tristana. I'm excited to see her. I hate playing against her because I perma-ban her, but in mid-league, I think she's an incredibly strong champion.
And that's a great move, especially because she's flexible between the mid and the bot lane as well. Allows Shadowblade Slash to hide their composition for a little bit longer, provide mixtures of AP jungles as a possibility. You see a lot of Morgana still. She's not nerfed quite yet. We get Elventus quickly locking in a strong bot lane of their own, though, between Kai'Sa and Leona. Leona offers so much CC stacks to apply to Kai'Sa's passive that she's able to just dish out that damage in lane, almost like a burst as opposed to 5 auto attacks. So works out really well for Elventus in that case. And quickly, Shadowblade Slash get their 2 picks in. We're flying through this dungeon.
Yeah, we're flying through, and you mentioned it, the Kai'Sa Leona. It has been a bot lane that even was picked up in MSI finals with Gala and Ming playing it, so it's an incredibly strong bot lane. The Malzahar pick I'm super excited to see because Shadowblade Slash's mid laner, Void Drifter, you can tell from his name, he is a Malzahar player. Every single game one in both of his in all 3 of his series, he has picked up the Malzahar. It is a kind of a pick that he likes to go. It's incredibly blindable, so I like to see that he's just going for comfort. And I also like the Braum pickup. It can help peel for some of these dive picks that are in the top and jungle, and so it's just a strong pick. It's going to kind of dissuade the Leona all in, try to separate out the Kai'Sa Leona comp. It does struggle, especially in lane, because if you jump on the Braum and just burst him down, you can really just take out any sort of peel and safety that the Tristana's can have. On the other side, Amber is going to pick up the Victor, a strong, blindable mid laner. Just going to be farm mid lane as usual, but Shadowblade Slash throwing out that Tryndamere pick ban. If you don't know this, Dunsey, Chief is a Tryndamere one-trick through and through. Fogged has nothing on Chief. He is a incredibly strong Tryndamere player, and we've already seen Tryndamere being played by him in his matchup versus, I believe, Bucky Stratosphere. I'm trying to figure out names. Versus Bucky Stratosphere in game number 2. He did end up taking the L on it, but I'm excited to see kind of these champions that we don't get to see in pro play, but are kind of these comfort picks for a lot of these players.
Yeah, I've heard legends about this top lane Tryndamere. I'm actually really disappointed we don't get to see it here for game 1. But I mean, you were talking about just like that top lane focus of Bird King. The Shen was taken off immediately, but now they're really pinching his pool with Cho'Gath and Kled, making sure that they get a nice, most likely blindable R4 pick here in the top lane. Elventus Amber could save it, though. They already have their solo lane mid locked in, so they might just wait for, they're going to take the Wukong here instead. They'll save their last pick for the jungle, which has been very influential lately. I touched on it. Morgana's still open. She's not banned, or she's not nerfed quite yet. Back to her original state nearly. Diana's still very, very strong. AP junglers available here for Shadowblade Slash if they want to pair that with an 80 top laner against the Wukong. We'll have to see what they pick up here. Bird King's pool is pinched a little bit, but I know that he also plays that Quinn.
Yeah, he does play the Quinn, so he can kind of pick whatever he wants. I'm interested in kind of seeing the Wukong blind, and it is going to get responded by that Malphite immediately. I've played this matchup. It's not as rough as you think it is because Wukong can build a Divine Sunder into the Black Cleaver and deal well with the Malphite pick, but it is one of those things where I would have liked it if Amber just had picked their jungler. There's so many strong junglers, like you mentioned, like the Morgana, the Diana, even the Rumble, so I think the Rumble would have paired perfectly, and now it's a situation where Shadowblade Slash can take away the Rumble, and I think they do have a lot of setup for that pick. Again, it did get nerfed in the 11.11 patch notes with the passive being decreased just a little bit, but they are going to just pick up the Xin Zhao, which is an incredibly strong pick for the side of Meteor Toast. It's something that he loves doing, and I like the way he plays the Dunsey, where he just kind of does this comp, which I like, or this strategy I like to do, called the Blitz, where he just perma ganks you, permanently tries to kill you, and if it works, it looks amazing because they just blitz every tower with the Tristana pick, rotate the Tristana all around the map, and just take plates and just get a massive gold lead in the early game. A response for that is going to be the Volibear. It is something that we've already seen in terms of just the matchup. We saw it in game number, I believe, 3? No, I think it was the Xin Zhao versus a Zac. Versus Nine-Tailed Fox, where Meteor Toast again had a dominant performance on that Xin Zhao pick. So I'm excited to see how this matches up. Volibear can match that early game, but is a little bit weaker, and the lanes are a lot more set up, in my opinion, for Amber. I feel like the Victor will have the push on the Wukong, or the Victor will have the push on the Malzahar, and the Wukong will have the push on the Malphite. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two junglers match up when Amber does have the laners that can roam first.
Yeah, you mentioned it. They have priority early, so it's going to be hard for the early game Jin Zhao pick here to maintain scuttle control. He will have his pick of the litter of lanes to gank, a lot of gank assist in both the mid and the bot lane between Braum and Malzahar once they get that level 6 power spike with the Nether Grasp. Going to be almost on cooldown using that ultimate onto the Victor. It's almost a guaranteed kill when you pair that with a 3 talent strike from Jin Zhao. So much damage coming out, so much pressure. I love this metaphor that you're bringing out, the blitz. I'm from Pittsburgh the last 10 years. Blitzburg, man. I'm eager to see it. I know that he does he has an affinity towards this Jin Zhao, so he's used to this kind of early game pressure that junglers have built up recently. With the jungle changes, you can no longer power farm. Things like the Udyr are gone now. I know you saw it at MSI, but they were playing on a previous jungle patch, right? So that power farm style is a little bit being pushed away, and you see these really gank heavy strong early spikes. The Lee Sin in both lane and jungle is really strong, and now we get to see Jin Zhao, a very comfortable champ for Meteor Toast. He needs to be able to affect his lanes.
Yeah, he definitely does need to be affect his lane, but the fact that he didn't pick Prio in any of these lanes, it feels like Amber has priority bot with the Kaisa Leona versus the Tristana Braum. Priority in the mid lane because Victor will have the push on the Malzahar until Malzahar gets a couple more points in his E. And then in the top lane, Wukong will have Prio on the Malphite. So I feel like they picked the Xin Zhao pick, but Amber's going to have priority for 100% that Shadowblade / his jungler, Meteor Toast, is going to know what's happening. He's going to know that Xin Zhao's going to be ganking these early games. If he catches him once with one of these counter ganks and Xin Zhao ends up falling behind, that champion goes from incredibly useful to incredibly useless. It's not. It doesn't synergize that well with the Tristana Malphite. It all pretty much just jumps in and hopes he doesn't die to Leona CCing him, Victor kiting him out with Gravity Field, and then Wukong with the Cyclone. So it's going to be hard, and it's going to be pretty much on the side of the Xin Zhao with NIL piloting him to really try to take over this game, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a really rough early game.
I do think Void Rifter in the mid lane on that Malzahar will be able to maintain a push. I mean, he will need a tier early, but once he's able to get rid of any of those mana problems, he can have priority against the Victor lane, who does have wave clear issues until Victor reaches that first laser spike and upgrades that. So you could utilize that Malzahar, kind of play around the mid lane until 6, use that as your prio. And man, if your bot lane as Tristana, even if it's a Kaisa Leona, which is an incredibly strong lane, and you're not auto-pushing, then there's kind of something wrong with the bot lane. So let's say Tristana is pushed in by whatever means. They have a Braum. Man, that's such a great gank assist opportunity for Meteor Toast. So not the worst on the bottom half of the map. You're right, though, about the Malphite. That's kind of just lost territory almost. The 2v2 is certainly going to go the way of Elventus Amber. Definitely want to keep track of this jungle matchup between Nil and Meteor Toast.
Yeah, and it's not even that I think they don't have priority. It's just if the fight devolves into that 3v3, I personally give it over to that Kaisa Leona Volver, just because they're immediately able to lock down, and all of that CC just puts 4 procs of plasma immediately on a target, and they just get insta bursted. So it's not even that they won't have priority, because I do think, again, Tristana Braum can get priority. It's just that if the fight ends up breaking down, and if we end up seeing where Xin Zhao ends up putting his focus, I like the 2v2 in the mid for the side of Amber. I like the 3v3 in the bot lane for the side of Amber, especially in the top lane for the 2v2. So it feels like wherever Xin Zhao ends up going, if Volibear is there to match, it's going to be a rough day at work, and it's going to be a rough mid game, because I can see this bot lane really taking off, because again, we saw it in MSI. That Kaisa Leona combo, it runs around the map. If it gets kind of opened up, if you can blitz the early game, it kind of runs around the map and just kills you.
During that whole speech, we're going to have to reconsider our lane allocations and our processes here, because Elventus Amber pull off the switcheroo. LX Chief will be Volibear top lane, and NIL instead is going to be playing the Wukong into the Jin Zhao. I don't know if I like this. I think that Wukong in the top lane is able to bully out the Malphite, and Volibear just is able to Jin Zhao's a very strong jungler, but Volley is able to take those fights, like you said, those skirmishes. Now with Wukong a lot weaker early on, I don't know if they're going to win 2v2 in the mid or the bot lane.
Yeah, this This switch up maybe could just be kind of a player thing, saying that we're more comfortable on the specific champions, but I agree. The tempo now is kind of all in the favor of Shadowblade Slash because, again, NIL on this Wukong pick, he farms just way slower and can't take these early game fights versus the Xin Zhao that's kind of just runs at him with Halo Blades, just 3 talent strikes and kills you. And so I feel like maybe the matchup is a little bit more. Maybe it's a little bit more stagnant, and maybe it helps, especially in those level 6 fights where Wukong can just be present and maybe can catch with that Cyclone. But I think that this lane matchup and these lane assignments have kind of flipped, and now I would favor Shadowblade Slash just because Wukong, again, I've played this champion a lot. His early game, especially when he's jungling, is not that strong, and he's not going to have priority on these Scuttle Crabs because the Xin Zhao plus whatever lane most likely will just beat him. And so it gets rough, it gets tricky, and I feel like Amber have now just introduced a lot more variables in this early game, and that's what Xin Zhao likes. Having a volatile early game is exactly what Xin Zhao wants, because if he can really get ahead, he can break open that bot lane with that Tristana pick, just run around and then blitz every single fight. And at level 6, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to land a Malphite ulti, and there's going to be a Malphite ulti, a Malzahar ulti, and there's going to be no QSS tax played for any member, and you're going to get locked down and probably end up dying. So I'm scared for this early game now.
Yeah. All right. You're the you're the mid league expert here. I'm just coming in from late league, checking it out, trying to give you a little bit of analysis. But give me the one player to watch as we're about to head into the game here. Who do I need to look for? Which comp do you like?
I think I like the Amber comp a lot more. Actually, the Shadowblade Slash comp. Sorry, I'm getting the names mixed up. I do want to see what Better Chemicals does on this Braum pick, and it's going to be, for me, it's going to be Better Chemicals versus Metapods. Metapods and Better Chemicals have a lot of experience, especially on what I call detaching from bot lane, where they'll basically detach and then roam mid and try to make plays. And so if whichever bot lane can kind of detach and then send their supports and make those early game plays, I'm favoring them. I am going to favor the Shadowblade Slash comp, but I do trust in Metapods' Leona pick to really pull it through if they're going to want to have a chance in this early game and the mid game versus this Xin Zhao comp.
All right. You heard it from Gungeon here. Shadowblades have the comp advantage. Will they be able to take the win in game 1? They're at 5-4, facing against Elventus at 2-7. We're going to throw it to Camcom and Icarus to take us into game 1 here in just a second. Are we going to a break? We're going to go to a break here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first game here of Week 4 for Excellency Mid-League between Shadowblade Slash and Elventus Amber Esports Elite. Hopping into the rift right away, we do see a bit of a 5-stack going on from Shadowblade on the blue side team. Red side being Amber Elite, holding it out with a 5-man point, however, and they're going to be able to see out any kind of early game aggression here if Shadowblade Slash tries to go for it.
Yeah, so we are seeing Chief walk into the top blue side a little bit, trying to see if he spots anyone there, and he's just going to throw a word down on that Grump just to make sure that there's no sneaky blue start or sneaky invade there from Meteor Toast early on.
I really like that adaptation coming in from Chief there, going in, getting them that early ward because nobody was there to stop him. Actually makes this 5-stack coming in from Shadowblade Slash very ineffective because they aren't able to get any vision. They have no idea where the opponent is starting. Meanwhile, we do at least know that there is going to be no topside start here for Meteor Toast. I wasn't expecting the Jin Zhao to want to start on the blue buff. It's typically not where he wants to begin his camp rotations. Red buff is the normal start here, so it will be looking fairly standard across the board here. One thing that I do want to point out, though, is that NIL is going to be rocking the Wukong in the jungle, so it's a bit of an off-meta pick here for Elventus, and they're going to be hoping to make this champion work better for them than the Volibear in the jungle. I'm personally really curious as to why they might have made this rotation, and that's something we'll just have to ask the players later.
Yeah, I definitely haven't seen Wukong jungle nearly as much as I have Wukong or Volibear jungle. So, I mean, Volibear jungle isn't really that great as it used to be. You do usually have to burn flash or ult for every single gank that you want to do anything. So Wukong, I'm thinking he's probably going to have a little bit of an easier time with the gap closer. So potentially he could be an easier jungler as a champion to play, but we will have to see through this game to see where he's able to go with that.
I think one of the big reasons why NIL might be running Wukong instead of Volibear is just because of the nerfs that came out to Chem Tank and to tank clear junglers in general. They've just been a little bit weaker ever since the past couple of patches where we've seen Chem Tank get nerfed. We've seen a lot of the tanks like Hecarim get absolutely destroyed in the jungle meta, and with the recent jungle changes as well, card clearing junglers aren't as effective. So we already see NIL and Meteor Toast have both opted to ignore their Krugs. They're going straight from red to Raptors, then doing Wolves, Grump, and Blue, which is a 5 camp start. Ignoring Krugs because they're so long and difficult to take, and then we can probably see them go for an early Scuttle Crab into an early gank. Bottom side, though.
Balthazar having to actually force his own flash out there, just walking in a little bit too far, despite being the same level. So pretty rough having to burn your flash level 2 as Kai'Sa into this matchup, especially.
It's a very tough matchup, like you said. Once Cornbread and Metapod's Manatee hit this level 3 as they just did here, they will have access to that full array of abilities, and I can expect to see Cornbread try and go in for a very aggressive leap any second now, honestly, if he wanted to, because he doesn't know where the enemy jungler is, so they might be playing safe because of that. Mid lane,
Void Rifter even is just gonna be able to walk that one out. Both the junglers just train top scuttle for bot scuttles. They start on opposite sides, so it's just gonna be a little bit of that standard classic clearing that you love to see. Trade in scuttles, trade in buffs, trade in everything out there.
we do see a little bit of aggression coming in from NIL. Finally, we're going to see Meteor and NIL run into each other on this bottom side of the map, but the priority is over to the side of Shadowblade Slash if they want to try and collapse here. Instead, they're going to respond to enemy bot lane rotating up. Not a whole lot going on here, but with the priority in the bot lane, it does allow for Meteor to go for an invade here. He's forcing NIL off of this Gromp. Pings are coming down. This could be first blood coming up at any second now.
Meteor was forced to smite the Gromp, so he's not going to have smite up once again here. NIL is trying to do a little bit of damage here. Bot lane is Cornbread going to be able to jump in onto them, and that's going to be first blood for Meteor on this and Zao. Double kill for him as well. Very sneaky invade. Cornbread trying to find a little bit more damage on the NIL, not able to find another kill there.
Double kills going over to Toast on the Xin Zhao jungle. We saw it a couple weeks ago. What can happen when a Xin Zhao gets fed? Bucky Stratosphere pulling that one out in the first game after those jungle changes, as I mentioned, that make these early game ganking and skirmishing junglers so strong. Increased cooldown or increased timer on these camps means that going for invades is extra effective here, and Meteor is not only able to steal away the Gromp, one of the most important camps from NIL, but he gets a double kill as well. Off of this first reset, he should be able to buy himself a couple of nice healthy items. He will be picking up the Merc Treads and a couple of long swords already, just getting himself that early tenacity and some extra damage that'll be matching the double long swords NIL bot.
Toast being able to find that double kill onto the members of Elventus's bot lane puts them even more behind in a matchup that they already aren't favored in. Metapods here is actually going to be caught out a little bit as his ADC recalled, and he was not allowed to recall. But yeah, Kai'Sa Leona into Tristana Braum is very hard for Kai'Sa Leona because of how hard Kai'Sa gets outranged and outscaled in this matchup even early on. So them dying early on to a Xin Zhao like that is really going to set them up for failure in this laning phase, unless they're able to get a kill off with their own jungler's help.
What makes it even more difficult is that Kai'Sa and Leona are a couple of dive buddies. They always want to be looking to go forward here, and when you're facing the likes of a Braum, which is an excellent counter pick for this early R1, R2 Kai'Sa Leona, you go forward, and if you're not able to instantly blow up Cornbread, who has the rocket jump and at level 6 will have access to the Buster Shot, now you're in the face of Metapods, who's going to have those concussive blow stacks going onto either member that goes into melee range. Leona only goes forward. Balthazar, if he ever uses that killer instinct to dash forward into the opponent, he can easily find himself getting... Ooh.
That's going to be the Malzahar, as well as Meteor flashing onto Chicken Crux, finding his third kill of this game.
Yeah, quick and easy ultimate coming out from Void Rifter there, using the Nether Grasp in order to lock down Chicken Crux. Flash easily followed up by Toast there, and that's going to mean that he's starting up the first dragon of this game. It will be just a Windrake, so not super important, but it will be starting up the dragon stacking here for Shadowblade Slash, as we do see a bit of a trade going on to the top side here. Looks like it's just going to be the walk away from Bird King.
Yeah, I don't think it's very easy to kill a Malphite when he has ult up, and he can decide to ult away or flash away or do whatever he really wants there. So it's going to be pretty hard for Chief to find a solo kill here without the help of a jungler in the top lane.
Tank v tank matchups are always going to just be that wet noodle fight everyone likes to talk about, and Volibear versus Malphite is no exception to that rule. So we do just want to take a quick glance across the map here. Not a whole lot of ward coverage coming out from other team just quite yet, but I do want to point at the couple of deep wards that are on the top side of the map for Shadowblade. Slash. They're able to get some wards into that tri-bush as well as right next to Raptors. So as long as Wukong isn't trying to do his Raptors or isn't ganking top lane, Shadowblade Slash understand that he's going to be towards this bottom side of the map, which means that Xin Zhao is already coming down here. He might be trying to set up a cheesy bush gank, understanding that this bot lane minion wave is going to be crashing into his team.
Balthazar and Better Chemicals died to another gank, giving Meteor Toast 2 more kills on the Xin Zhao. That's going to be absolutely disastrous, not only for the bot lane matchup, but as well as the jungler. And Balthazar already having to flash away there. That's going to be already a kill going over to Toast. Better Chemicals has to flash away himself just to not give him another kill. That's already 4 kills for Meteor Toast on Xin Zhao at only 8 minutes into this game.
Metapods held on to the Winter's Bite there, catches Balthazar after the flash comes out and is slowed for the second proc of concussive blows, gets stunned up. It's an easy pickup there. I would have actually liked to see Toast give that kill over towards his bottom lane, but instead Toast is sitting 4-0-0 at just 8 minutes into this game. He is so accelerated at this stage. He's already sitting over 1,000 gold up on his opponent here, so he's really going to be the person we need to keep an eye on. Now, one of the downsides to the Xin Zhao jungle is that he is a better early to mid game skirmisher than anything else. Once we start looking towards these later stages of the game, we can expect him to fall off a bit, but again, we come back to the idea that these late stages are still in favor of Shadowblade Slash with this Tristana, with the Malzahar that's going to be able to deny some of the engage from either the Volibear or Wukong, and it's just going to make it so difficult for anyone to be able to kill Cornbread when this team already has the lead.
They're trying to find another kill onto the top lane here. Malphite actually ulting in, but Chief is, once again, a tank. It's very hard to kill, but Balthazar is gonna flash forward, trying to do anything he can, but NIL is here for the counter gank, and he's just gonna say, no, I don't care about your spell shield. I'm just gonna auto you and cancel your ult there. So that was lots of wasted summoners for really nothing picked up there in the top lane.
Few blashes blown on the top side of the map. Importantly, it was 2 for 2 at the end of the day, and what's important to note is that Meteor Toast does show up there in order to prevent Bird King from going down, really coming in at the last second there to prevent Malphite from taking one more auto attack or one more turret shot from NIL, which keeps him alive here. This entire time that we do have both AD carries just kind of free farming on the bottom side, we also did have Chicken Crocs who's able to crash a wave in the mid lane. He is sitting a little bit further behind because of that wave that was denied earlier with the dive that Meteor Toast picked up a kill in the mid lane, but now we have a couple more minutes where Chicken Crocs can just catch waves, farm up, because there is one member on the side of Elventus that is going to be able to carry them in the late stages of this game. It is going to be this Victor.
It is definitely going to be that Victor, but I mean, you're going against a Xin Zhao who not only has 100% KP, he just has 100% kills in this game right now. I mean, no deaths, only kills, and they're all on the Xin Zhao, which is an early game jungler, as you were saying earlier. This is the classic Lee Sin where you get ahead or you don't get to play the game, and this is exactly what Meteor Toast so far has accomplished in this game.
I do like to see that both teams have started to get their recalls in here. They've tried to go back to base, pick up some final items because Dragon is spawning in about a minute here, which means both junglers are also starting to go towards their bottom side rotation in order to set up around this Dragon. So far, it is going to be Elventus that has the early lead when it comes to ward vision in this bottom side river. However, Metapods is walking up. He gets the pink ward into the pit here, and now it is in favor of Shadowblade Slash bottom side.
Oh no! Cornbread is very caught out here. He really wanted that play, and he's gonna burn both of his sums and his flash. That's gonna be a shutdown going over to Balthazar on this Kai'Sa. As well as another fight happening in the top lane here, actually. Chief is trying to go in for a 1v1 here on the Bird King. He's gonna be able to use that Malphite ult just to try and hold off for a little bit, but Chief gonna pick up the 1v1 outplay kill in the top lane.
Yeah, I don't know why he went forward there. You didn't have to use the Malphite ultimate in order to go in when you're already losing that trade. Just back away instead. Opt to use it to get to safety because Chief did not have flash. And honestly, the Volibear ultimate doesn't go very far, but another fight.
Another fight. Better Chemicals face checks the entire team of Shadowblade Slash, and he's still somehow not dead yet. Meteor Toast chunked out for his entire HP bar. Elventus is actually turning this fight back around. NIL, or Chief, picking up a double kill on this Volibear with a really nice TP, and this is actually going to be second Infernal Dragon going over to Elventus, being able to turn this around. Meteor Toast gonna look for
tragedy strikes
potentially.
Oh, that is So unfortunate if you're Shadowblade Slash there. You lose the 1v1 on the top side of the map. Chief is able to teleport because he's the one that's still alive here from the top lane. Both teleports were available, but Bird King had to use this to try and pick up the top lane wave. Now he's able to shove in a couple of mini waves into the turret, which I guess is going to be their one shining silver hope here for Shadowblade after that play. But you get 1v1s across the map. You get the second dragon of the game. If you're looking at singular drakes, then Fertile Dragon is worth so much more here. And now what was a massive gold lead, or what was a 1,000, 2,000 gold lead in the early game, got neutralized with that Rift Herald being dropped. It's going to be going back up to another 1,000, almost 2,000 gold lead here for Shadowblade Slash. But they were able to pick up so much for themselves, and really getting a couple kills onto Wukong and Balthazar is going to help accelerate these two picks that were falling so far behind early on in the stages of this game.
Yeah, I mean, getting any kills onto this Wukong is just going to be able to help Victor and Kaisa get to their late game stages even faster. I mean, Wukong is not the champion that you're looking to get these kills, but early game, it is going to be very helpful, and that's actually going to be Chicken Croc splashed. Burn here a little bit. I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of an MSI moment here. We're all going to fight over a top lane scuttle. That's going to be the Xin Zhao shutdown going over to Victor, and Metapod's having to just try and run away as he really wanted to save his jungler, but unfortunately not able to.
We're already starting to see what happens to Xin Zhao once you start hitting these mid-game team fights, and he doesn't quite have his survivability yet. Really, you want to wait for that Sterak's gauge to come online before Xin Zhao starts joining team fights, because he just gets blown up so quickly here. He did pick up the Merc Treads in order to get the tenacity here, but a lot of the damage that's coming in his direction is going to be in the forms of physical damage coming in from Balthazar, NIL, and Chief on this Volibear, Wukong, and Kaisa. So he gets blown up. Yes, he's able to ignore a portion of the CC, but he's not ignoring the flat damage that's coming his way, and him going down early. Yes, you get the Scuttle Crab, but that's a shutdown that you were also able to give over to Chicken Crocs. The mid lane Victor, that is the scaling option for Elventus, now has the extra boosted gold in his pocket.
That was exactly what I was talking about before the fight. Is NIL not really the champion you want getting these kills, but him having that double kill from the earlier fight was able to help Chicken Crocs get that shutdown from the Xin Zhao, helping him get almost his mythic now, as well as his tier and dark still stacked up a little bit more.
We're starting to hit the mid stages of this game. A lot of rotations coming out. Only turret to be taken so far is that bottom lane outer turret. So we see the bottom lane from Shadowblade Slash rotate towards the top side of the map here. They're going to try and pressure down this outer turret as well. And just like that, Elventus is there to respond with the bottom lane of their own. But this is still not the matchup that you need to be setting up against this Tristana, because it is still so painful for Elventus. What I am curious to see is all these rotations. Every member, it seems like, except the top laners from both teams, are rotating towards the top of the side of the map, because the Rift Herald is spawning once again, which means they want to try and focus down this neutral objective before the dragon spawns in about a minute 40 here. Now we might see some kind of fight happening around this top side of the map.
We are definitely all trying to fight over the Scuttle and this Rift Herald that will be spawning about in 20 seconds. So I am looking to see, okay, that's a little bit of an ADC 1v1 in the top lane there, but I mean, they could be pushing this top tower or this mid tower a little bit harder, I think, before this Rift Herald spawns, but there is quite a lot of vision control over the river from the side of Shadowblade Slash, so it is going to be very hard for Elventus to walk into this river at all. As you see, NIL is going to be the one forced to face check, as he is going to be the most tanky one on their team for right now.
Tensions are high. A lot of people are gathering around this top side, and it looks like Malphite.
Oh, Malphite hits the double knockup with his ultimate Better Chemicals and completely chunked out before the fight even started. But Braum is not able to find the engaged Meteor Toast, just finding enough damage there onto Better Chemicals, able to pick up that kill and transfer that one into the Rift Herald.
Able to find one kill there. It's only going to be a kill picked up from Better Chemicals, but low health bars across the side for Elventus means that they have to back away here, which means second Rift Herald will be secured here for Shadowblade Slash. Wukong just trading a little bit back and forth, but what's important to note is that that engage is starting on the side of Shadowblade Slash in that team fight, and that's really what's going to be the defining factor for either one of these teams. When you have these bruisers in the jungle, it's which one of your tanks is able to start the fight first, and here it was Bird King that gets the unstoppable force off before we could see the Solar Flare, before we can see the Stormbringer coming out, and that means that it is going to be the team fight victory from Shadowblade Slash, and the reward is not only the Rift Herald, but that mid lane outer turret as well.
Yes, they've so far taken 2 towers to Elventus' 0, but unfortunately for them, Elventus is the one holding this bot lane river control so far, as they weren't able to contest the Rift Herald. They just decided, we're going to go control the bot lane for this next Ocean Dragon spawning here, and NIL getting a little bit of poke off there right before this fight's about to start. Malphite about to come up here in around 10 seconds, so we're going to be seeing probably a standoff until that ult is able to be used here.
This is where I really want to see Better Chemicals look for that engage, because like I said just a few seconds ago, it's whichever one of these teams starts the fight first. This Malphite ultimate, once it's up and available, is going to be the great team fight starter for Shadowblade Slash. Now the Dragon's been started up, we have to see when is this team fight going to start.
It's up, and there it is. That's a 3-man Malphite ult, but the Leona ult for the counter is not going to do anything for them. Balthazar already finding to get killed there. That's going to be a double kill going over to Balthazar on this Kai'Sa, doing as much damage as he can. But Void Rifter says, no, I want to live. I'm trying to do as much damage, but that is not going to be enough from the poor Malzahar. That is a 4-for-1 in favor of Elventus, as well as picking up their second Ocean Dragon of this game.
Better Chemicals being the hero that Elventus needed in that team fight. He finds the Solar Flare onto the backline members of Shadowblade Slash and is able to deny the follow-up off of the Unstoppable Force. It was one hard engage CC versus the other, and yes, Bird King got it off, but in this situation, it did not work for him because he didn't have the damage to follow up. Once that Solar Flare came out, NIL was able to make it into the backline. He uses the Cyclone. He gets the Killer Instinct from Balthazar as Bird King goes down. Once that frontline member is dead, there is not much that Meteor Toast, that Metapods is going to be able to do in order to stop Void Rift and Cornbread from going down, because they were already locked up from this Leona. A fantastic teamfight execution coming in from Elventus here. It secures them the second Drake of this game for themselves, and it will be the Ocean Soul that we're looking at this game, and I think that this soul is going to be oh so vital for either team that is able to pick it up.
Yeah, Better Chemicals and Bird King as well absolutely played that fight so well. It was just unfortunate that they used their ults at the exact same time, basically negating it. And for the downside of Malphite, he had to go in with his own body, and Better Chemicals, not so much. So when it's canceled out like that, Bird King is the one that's going to be in more danger. So that is unfortunately going to be their first teamfight loss this game, as well as the second dragon going over to Elventus. And they were able to take their first tower in the bot lane and potentially a tower in the top lane as well with the minion wave.
Looks like that minion wave topside is going to get absorbed up here, but what's important to keep in mind is that this game is so close between both of these teams here, because the gold difference at 20 minutes with all of these kills going on is still less than 1,000 gold. We've seen a lot of flip-flopping this entire game so far, and when it comes down to which one of these teams it's going to benefit more, to be honest with you, I don't really have that good of an idea. I do want to point out that there's a little bit of interesting itemization coming out from both teams here. In particular, a Gnasher's Tooth being worked on by Chief is something that I have a couple of questions about. It AP Volibear is strong. I don't know if it's strong enough to warrant going Gnasher's Tooth if you're not committing to the full AP build, though.
I'm not too sure about Volibear builds myself either, but I'm just gonna say if he's gonna build it, then it's gonna be a good item, right? So we never mess with builds around here. They're always like 100% perfect. We're like actually just insane at building items. They're absolutely never wrong, so I believe.
Yeah, that's what you gotta expect from the mid league here. It's insane players with insane builds doing the absolute maximum amount of damage here. Game slowing down for just a second as there is no dragon on the map. Neither team feeling strong enough to try and go towards that Baron either just quite yet. Instead, 4 members of Shadowblade Slash on the bottom side here, and they're trying to find aggression onto the top laner for Elventus Gaming. Not going to be able to find much, and as we start heading towards the real mid game of this series here, we have to start wondering, is the team fight prowess coming in from Shadowblade Slash just hasn't seemed like it's the same as Elventus around these dragon pits, and I want to see what happens when they get a full 5-on-5 fight where they can follow up on the Malphite ultimate.
And to that mid game, we do see Chicken Croc sitting on a 10-stack Darksteel there, and I'm wondering, when is he going to upgrade that to a Magi's here? There is going to be a lot more fighting going on, and I'm really hoping that he's going to be able to do that much damage that he needs to on this Victor to be able to output as much damage as possible, and hopefully be able to carry these team fights later on.
It's so important that these teams are able to find wins in these series as well, which is why I love to see that this game is so close. We are starting to hit the middle stages of Excellency Mid-League, which means this is where teams are really starting to differentiate themselves. During the first couple of weeks, you get a game here, a game there. You don't really know who's strong yet, but both of these teams are sitting pretty healthily around the middle of the pack, so these games can absolutely define which teams are going to be looking towards playoffs and which teams are not going to be able to make it into the second half of the Excellency Mid-League tournament, and team fights are so important for these teams to be able to win here, because if you're not able to take a good team fight, then you're never going to be able to fight for these neutral objectives. We do have the next neutral objective spawning in about 40 seconds here, and already both teams are rotating towards that bottom side of the map to try and get priority. Balthazar, though.
Gosh, Meteor Toast is almost dead already. I mean, he did have to force out the flash from Better Chemicals, so that is going to be a flash missing on the Leona already, but Meteor Toast is forced to recall 20 seconds before this Ocean Dragon is spawning, and that means, first of all, there's not going to be steal unless someone else on the side of Shadowblade is going to be going in, and so far it doesn't look like they're able to, as they're not even able to walk into this bot lane river without taking so much poke damage from the Kaisa, from the Volibear, from anyone on the side of Elventus. But so far they have been able to walk in just a little bit, just to step their toes into the river a little bit here, and NIL once again saying, no, you can't walk in this river. We have complete control over this so far, and so far Meteor Toast has actually had enough time to walk back here, so he is here for this fight if it does begin, and we're going to be looking probably to see the Malphite ult once again for this engage. Better Chemicals is here on the front line, though, gonna be looking to try and find that counter engage ult as well. Bird King is already in. That's actually gonna be the Volibear going in for the engage, and Bird King is in the back line, but he's not going to be doing any damage on his own. Oh my goodness, Void Rifter doing as much damage as he can, able to find 2 kills there already, but his backline is dead already. Balthazar going in as much as he can, but triple kill for Void Rifter. He does so much damage on this Malphite.
Malzahar.
Oh, Malzahar. And nobody secured that dragon, so we're probably going to be seeing another fight over in around 10 seconds.
Potentially. We do have the teleport coming in from Bird King, though, and it looks like a rotation coming out from the mid laner, the support, and AD carry even getting a chance to go back, and will now be coming back towards this dragon. So it will be secured here from Shadowblade Slash, which means that we're at 2-2 apiece for the dragons, and I'm expecting this game to go so late here if it continues to play out like this. Just like that, the gold difference swings back 1,000 gold in favor of Shadowblade Slash. They're going to be looking towards this Baron now that dragon is off the map for another 4.5 minutes here. But this entire game, this entire series has all been about teamfight execution. And what's important here is that it feels like it's not about the first team to execute. I think I was actually wrong here. It's about which team is able to prevent the other team's CC from being impactful and meaningful here. Because we saw Chief go in that last fight. He wasn't able to actually lock down Cornbread or get the kill onto either of the backline members for Shadowblade Slash, because Bird King used his ultimate secondary there and was able to deny Chicken Crocs and Balthazar the follow-up this time around. So this time, a little bit of a 1v1 on the top side, though. Does it back away?
That's a nice ult from Better Chemicals, but I mean, Meteor Toast, he's still a pretty vet on the Sin South, so it is going to be pretty hard to kill there. And I mean, that was quite the team fight. I mean, there was so much damage coming out from the Void Rifter, and I think Elventus was on the same page as me, as I was not expecting that crazy damage from a Malzahar sitting on just 2.5 items. But I mean, that was the Magi stacks that he had to find, and I'm very glad to see that both mid laners have purchased the Magi's. So that is going to be another item going over to their mythic passive.
so weird. Medjai's feels really gold efficient this season. It's always been one of those items that was supposed to be really niche. You have a pop-off game, you buy Medjai's, but this season with the mythic passives, it makes the cheap purchase of Medjai's actually gold efficient because you're able to get that mythic passive, as you mentioned, so much sooner on a second or third item here. And with that, we do also have the Liandry's with the Rylai's being completed here for Void Rifter. Alongside on the other side is the Liandry's and Seraph's Embrace completed. So it's 3 completed items on both myth laners. Bottom side though, we get a stun up and a teleport coming out.
Yeah, this is going to be a teleport coming out from Chicken Crocs, just trying to make sure that Chief is going to stay alive, but that's going to be the counter-engage ult from the Malphite. That's already going to be a shutdown going over to Void Rifter and a kill going over to Bird King, as well as the fun support TP coming in just to make sure that nobody's dying.
Void Rifter shows up. He's able to secure the kill onto LX Chief, but 4 members on the top side of the map means that on the bottom side of the map, 4 Shadowblade Slash means bottom side can get collapsed on.
It's gonna be, oh my goodness, that's a really nice ult from Corybread there, but unfortunately Balthazar is still gonna be able to find that kill onto the Kaisa, and I mean, they're about to collapse onto each other in this top jungle here, and they have no idea where the other team is. They just know that they're somewhere around here. Elventus trying to run away as fast as they can, but this oh my goodness, he is already in the Meteor Toast doing as much damage as he can. This is a 3v4 in the favor of Shadowblade Sash, and they are finding the kills already. Better Chemicals doing as much as he can, but that's going to be a quadra kill going over to Void Rifter.
Thought it was going to be Chicken Crocs. That's the mid laner that shows up big in today's series, but no, it's Void Rifter showing up 9, 2, and 3, 247 CS, and gets the triple kill in that last fight. They're going to be able to secure the Baron off of this successful team fight from Shadowblade Slash. They are going to be finally accelerating this game beyond just that 1,000, 2,000 gold difference. In fact, after this Baron, they're going to be setting out a healthy 5,000 gold lead for themselves at 29 minutes into the game. Dragon is going to be spawning in a minute 15 as well here, so a couple of the midwave will be shoved out by Cornbread. But what's so important here is that it took so long for the collapse to happen on the top side of the map for Elventus Amber Esports Elite, that all 4 members of Shadowblade Slash got a traverse from the bottom side towards the top side of the map. We're able to collapse on the last 3 standing members from Elventus and then make that Baron play happen, because you were able to pick up that top lane turret, sure, but they just kept going, and it was a bit of an overextension from Elventus.
Void Rifter is having such a good game on this. I can never. Malzahar. I keep wanting to say Maokai. It's Malzahar. I mean, this is the reason he's named Void Rifter. He is very comfortable on this Malzahar pick here, and I mean, he's really shown up to it. He's doing as much damage as he possibly can in these team fights, sitting on an almost 25 stack Magi's. They're probably going to be looking to get another stack in the next team fight here. That could potentially happen right now, as he's gone out just a little bit in this mid lane here. Oh my goodness, so much damage. That's going to be the shutdown from him already going over to, oh my goodness, Wukong, and that's going to be the TP in the backline though. Meteor Toast does so much damage on the Xin Zhao still, even from the early game, but Elventus does more. They do so much damage. Meteor Toast going onto the backline there as much as he can before he falls. Nobody is dying. There's so many tanks here, and I mean Bird King is still alive, but it's the battle of the Omnivamp who does more, and that's gonna finally be the 4 for 5 fight in the mid lane in the favor of Shadowblade Slash.
Was the most intense team fight I have ever seen coming out here from Shadowblade Slash. They get collapsed on by Better Chemicals, by NIL, but it is Bird King, the last man standing here for Shadowblade Slash. And really, that team fight was just so all over the place. Void Rifter goes down extremely early on in the fight, but it is the rest of Elventus that is stepping just a bit too far forward, and we finally see Meteor Toast come up big in that team fight. He was able to get so many kills onto the backline members because everybody had used their engage options. Everyone had used their dashes forward to try and pick off Void Rifter. And once that's all been used, congratulations, you did kill the Malzahar, but now it allows for the re-engage to come out from Meteor Toast and from Bird King, and they're able to find a couple of kills. They're able to shut down the backline members, and everyone just goes down in that fight. It will be Shadowblade Slash that makes the first rotation over towards this dragon immediately after the respawn. So they pick up the third Drake and finally put themselves on Soul Point here. We're 32 minutes into this game. We can expect to see a massive fight coming up in 5 minutes here, because there is absolutely no way that Elventus wants to give over the Dragon Soul when they have fought this hard for this series.
I definitely agree. I mean, we've been focusing so hard on Void Rifter on this. Oh my gosh, I forgot the champion again. Malzahar. We've been focusing so hard on Void Rifter that we forgot how fed Meteor Toast got in the early game, and he really made us remember in that team fight with how much he was able to absolutely destroy Balthasar and Better Chemicals, as well as Chicken Crocs. I mean, once they used all their damage on Void Rifter just to find the one shutdown, they didn't have a whole lot to stop the Xin Zhao that they forgot that was also fed in this game, just absolutely destroying their backline in the team fight, which really decided to turn the team fight around.
A lot of that's because Meteor Toast fell off without his survivability items, but now he's sitting on that Sterix gauge. Now he has that Death's Dance completed for himself, so a lot of that physical damage that we were talking about earlier is going to be getting mitigated here for Meteor Toast, and he's going to be having an easier time surviving in these team fights with that lifeline passive as well. So once he goes in for these fights, he's not getting immediately blown up. He's not dying to NIL from just a couple of auto attacks like he did at the 15-20 minute stage of this game. He has sustainability. He has the ability to look for fights and try and dive the backline members, knowing that he's not going to get immediately blown up here.
I mean, if we do see more team fights like that, then these Magi's are really not going to be as useful as they once were. I mean, Malzahar has already gone down to 18 from his previous 24, and unfortunately Victor is down to 2 from his original 10 that he had on the Darksteel before he even upgraded it. So I mean, if we do keep seeing these scrappy team fights in the mid lane where everyone on both sides dies, these Magi's are not going to be very useful later on.
Feels bad for NIL. He tried to use his full combo there outside of the Cyclone. Absolutely just tickle Bird King, by the way. Frozen Heart receiving a buff on this latest patch makes it an interesting item. I'm not sure how it stands up against the the Thornmail Brambles Vest that did also get nerfed this patch. That has been kind of the bread and butter for top lane tanks here, but it is going to provide so much survivability and just AoE utility for the side of Shadowblade Slash here. When he goes in for that Malphite ultimate, he'll be slowing down the attack speed of Balthazar unless he's able to find a killer instinct into the backline of Shadowblade Slash. Really what I want to see here, if you are Elventus Amber Esports Elite, is you need to find a full out team fight where you can pick off Void Rifter and get Balthazar into the backline with the rest of his team there to support him. You need NIL, Chief, and Better Chemicals to all look forward at the exact same time. And Chicken Crocs, well, Chicken Crocs has just got a zone for himself using that gravity well and being able to stall out Meteor Toast. I think he is strong enough to be able to find a 1v1 because Victor does do a decent job as a mage in the 1v1 situations. High tension coming out here as Wukong face checks that bush.
Wukong just face checked their entire team, and I can't believe he lived to tell the tale about it. Oh my goodness. I wanted to bring up how much vision control Shadowblade Slash had over their top the top jungle even, but I mean, it's all been cleared out now. So they were trying to get control over this Baron here, but now they don't have any wards and there's no control that they have anymore. So it is probably not going to be a Baron before the Ocean Soul coming up here in just a minute. So we could potentially see a swap where one team decides to go for Baron and one team decides to go for the Soul, but I'm not sure which they're going to decide here, as they are just kind of all hovering around this Baron so far, as it is still 60 seconds remaining on this dragon, and they are going to actually start it up for Shadowblade Slash. Bird King using his TP, just trying to make sure that they are able to secure this. And I mean, Elventus doesn't seem to have any idea, and that's just going to be a free Baron going over to Shadowblade before they're just going to walk down in the bot river to try and secure their Ocean Soul as well.
They had no wards. Look at the inventories. The only person who was there was NIL, but his ward is on cooldown. He doesn't have the clearing trinket, so he can't see if anybody, or he doesn't have the red trinket, so he can't see if they're in the pit like that. And without anybody else there to try and put down their wards, they're going to be going. It's going to be going over for free here. Flash also forced out of NIL. He was trying to find a flank, and now the monkey's going to be flashless here, so he can't even try and find a flash cyclone play. And with that dragon coming up in 10 seconds here, Baron in the hands of Shadowblade Slash, this is going to be looking real bad for Elventus if they want to deny this Ocean Soul.
Oh no. NIL is going to be once again cut out now, not even going to have that flash. Immediately Malzahar ulted and just taken down. That's going to be the Malphite ult coming out as well, doing so much damage to the backline. Double kill already for this Malzahar, and I mean Meteor Toast, he's still so huge on the Xin Zhao. He's just going to find himself a double kill as well. Balthazar finding one for himself on the Cornbread in the 1v1, but the bomb is still on his head. That's going to be the ace for Shadowblade Slash, as well as this Ocean Soul, and potentially the game-ending push through the mid lane right here.
If it's not the game-ending push, this is going to be the game-ending play, though, because I do not think there is a way that Elventus brings himself back into this one. A 9,000 gold lead for Shadowblade Slash. The Ocean Soul will be secured as well. There's a Malphite Xin Zhao Braum that you have to try and melt through, as they're going to be passively healing up throughout these team fights. Mid lane inhibitor also getting secured here. This is just spelling doom and gloom. It is only a matter of securing the victory here for Shadowblade Slash. What Elventus can look to do is they can look to find a mistake, a misposition coming out here from Shadowblade Slash, but outside of that, they don't win these team fights, and they really just need to find somebody out of position if they want to try and bring this one back in here. I want to point out in that last team fight that NIL did get caught out, which was really the biggest downfall for Elventus, and he didn't even use the Cyclone, which I think could have set up the rest of Elventus to at least attempt a follow-up onto that team fight, but he goes in, dashes forward, and just gets immediately blown up trying to use his auto attack Q combo before he looks for the Cyclone. Concussive Blow stuns him up, and he falls down, no CC, and that means that he goes down absolutely for free. A great punish coming in from Shadowblade Slash to pick him off going in for that flank there. I just want to see a little bit more aggression coming in from Elventus. I want to see them starting these fights on their terms here, because again, we're seeing attempts at starting fights, but no full committal coming in from Elventus.
I think NIL was just trying to go for the hero play there. He realized there's very little chance that they won that fight without him finding the engage. And I mean, Void Rifter played it about as best as you possibly could on this Malzahar. The second he saw the engage potential from NIL, he just hit that R key and said, you don't get to engage on our team. And he just got immediately blown up here. And I mean, there is no Baron anymore for Shadowblade Slash, but they do still have a Tristana, which is like, she blows up these towers insanely fast with her bombs on the towers. So there's not going to be many towers standing between her and the Nexus very soon.
I do want to point something out really quick. I love to see the new item being built here by Metapod's Manatee. I don't even think it's a new item, but nobody's ever talked about the Vigilant Wardstone here. Look at how tanky this Braum is in comparison to Leona. He's almost got 800 health up on top of better chemicals, and a lot comes in from the new support item here that provides a humongous boost once you get the level 13 and support quest passive. It's going to be a flat boost to almost every single stat here. 12% to ability power, ability haste, so more cooldown reduction, plus bonuses to your attack damage and bonus health here. Such a good item that got buffed in this most recent patch that actually came out today. So for anybody at home that's watching this stream, that's tuning in, if you're not building that item third on your support once you hit that level 13, you're honestly trolling just a wee bit here.
Yeah, I mean, just before today, that item was basically useless, as it was really just a stat stick that gave you an extra ward. And the late game, that's not really what you want. You want the extra bonuses that you get from other items. But now that they actually made it a real item, as I didn't really consider it an item before, that's, oh my goodness, never mind. That's going to be the huge ult from NIL, but it does no damage anymore. Void Rifter is huge. That's already a double kill going over to Meteor Toast on the Xin Zhao. That's going to be the clean ace going over to Shadowblade Slash. And this is going to be game one of tonight's best, or game 3 series, going over to Shadowblade Slash.
What a back and forth game to start off this series, Cam. Insanely played by both teams here, but unfortunately for Elventus, Shadowblade came to play and they found the early aggression. It felt like Elventus was always just trying to catch up, and we're getting lucky at some team fights in the early game around that dragon pit. They were able to find a couple of good fights for themselves, and you got to give them credit where credit is due. But when it comes down to it, the early aggression, the early gold lead, and the constant objective focus coming in from Shadowblade Slash meant that they always seemed to have an edge when it came down to just their general macro play. I do want to see, I think Elventus put up a very good game. I just want to see a little bit more priority on rotating earlier and finding fights and setups for themselves that is more advantageous.
Yeah, I mean, Meteor Toast absolutely played early game so well on the Xin Zhao here, able to find the early invade into the jungle and able to secure not only the Gromp, but 2 kills onto the bot lane as well, and then just snowballing his mid laner through the game. And once he was able to pick up 2 items on the Malzahar, he just did so much damage that nobody on Elventus was expecting. And once he started doing that damage, they just basically won every single team fight up until the really scrappy ones in mid lane that were very interesting.
There were some interesting mid lane scrappings for sure, but in order to break down this game just a little bit more, we are going to throw it over to our analyst desk. Gungeon and Dunzi are going to try and bring you guys some more insider information on how this first game played out.
Dunzi, what a game between Shadowblade Slash and Elventus Amber. We were talking about it during the entire time. What a back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It looked like Amber had control because, again, the tempo was lost by Shadowblade Slash. It felt like the Xin Zhao wasn't going to be able to kind of take over, but it felt like Elventus Amber kind of got in their way, tripped right before they could get to the finish line, and Shadowblade Slash pick up the win with the Ocean Soul, and a pretty strong performance, but there were places for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely summed it up perfectly. It was an absolute just slugfest. 2 kind of heavyweight boxers just going at it. You saw these teams just throwing their bodies at each other, not afraid to take the team fights, going both directions early on. It was that third Drake that really swung it towards the side of Shadowblade Slash once again. You saw the Malphite utilize ultimate to get a pick, and Elventus did not retaliate. Instead, they went straight to the Drake, which we liked. But they weren't able to pull the trigger once they got to that Drake before Malphite's unstoppable force came back up. There's a window of opportunity that Elventus missed, and instead Shadowblade Slash waited, stalled it out, and that's when the tide started to turn towards Shadowblade Slash. They were able to methodically win team fights from that point on.
Yeah, and it feels like Amber just is especially whenever even though they had a pretty strong early game. Obviously they fell behind to the Xin Zhao pick, but they had times where they kind of turned it around and really made good plays for themselves. But I feel like they're always just a little bit too aggressive. And that was one of the things that I always talk about this team. I think they have the players to really execute these game plans that they put out. I think they have the personnel, they have the picks, they have good drafts. But it just feels like when it gets to those clutch situations, they just overpush a little bit more. And in that team fight that you're talking about, that was the team fight that Void Rifter picked up a triple kill. They end up picking up the Dragon as well. And another play that I want to talk to you about, that we were talking about while watching the game, was that play where they wanted to make a play onto the Tristana in the top side. They wanted to make a play on Cornbread, but they also tried to make a play bot lane with the Voli and the Wukong, and they just got heavily punished. And so try to break that down and what is the decision making there, and what should they have done?
Yeah, I mean, you called it. There's just fights breaking out on both sides of the map. And when you're playing on a strong side, in this case, it was top because they had 3 people in that brush. You have to commit to that side. You have to understand that, okay, if we're a strong side top, the bot side, we cannot send reinforcements. There's no way we can join a fight if something breaks out. And take a look at your vision. All members besides Tristana for Shadowblade Slash were hiding in fog. They were kind of able to bait that out. They saw Victor's teleport fly in and said, wait. Let them come in. They feel a little bit more comfortable in it. Unstoppable force right into their faces, smash them open. Just seems like a breakdown in communication for Elventus Amber there about what they want to do, just wanting to do too much without the appropriate resources.
Yeah, wanting to do too much. I feel like that's like the little phrase we should have to kind of sum up that entire game. Just wanting to do too much with too little resources. One thing I do want to talk about, and I know we were talking about, was build paths and also that swap between the Volibear and the Wukong. I know I'm not a big proponent of it because I felt like Wukong, as the game went on, could really match the Malphite in lane. Like he could get to a point where he can be a side lane threat that the Malphite can't really lane against. But with that Volibear pick, obviously he got that solo kill and kind of stopped the tempo for Shadowblade Slash early, but it wasn't really able to do much. Obviously the Gnasher's Tooth, it's cool to see, but as the game goes on, it's a low econ champion with high gold. And so Volibear doesn't it's just a bigger bear. At the end of the day, when you feed Volibear some more gold, he just becomes a bigger bear that Malzahar and Tristana have 2 more seconds to just chip down. But a Wukong with a lot more gold can kind of wipe out teams left and right. And so that swap, I think, was really questionable. And that's something that we were questioning. And what were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I'm with you here, man. I think even more egregious is the fact that they let Void Rifter play on his signature champion just so comfortable on the Malzahar. And you saw exactly why during that game. Now, Gungeon, you told me while we were backstage here that once Void Rifter is off this kind of quote-unquote signature champ, the Malz here, he doesn't look as comfortable. He doesn't look as prepared to take even the laning phase, the team fights, knowing exactly what to do. He is subconsciously so good on the Malzahar. Elventus need to take that away, and now they see why. They have lived it. Okay, fool me once, fine. Do not be fooled twice, Elventus. Please ban that Malzahar away.
No, again, it feels like in every game, number one, he gets to play the Malzahar, and they're like, let's see what you can do with it. And a lot of times, they can't deal with it. The Malzahar, he's just so practiced on that champion. He has so much comfort on that champion. And I know I've talked to Cornbread and Better Chemicals before that, again, the shot calling goes through them. But when you have a player that's so comfortable on what he's already doing in the game, that allows him to kind of take a little bit more space into that shot calling. So giving him that comfort, if you make it so that he's uncomfortable on his pick, he has to focus a lot more on what he's doing and a lot less on what he can affect the team-wide map. So I agree with you. I think the Malzahar should be banned. It was dominant in game one. It really locked down, and that was one of the things that we were talking about, was that especially in early games, and one of the things that where Shadowblade Slash fumbled was they really lost tempo after getting that pick onto Victor and blowing his flash. It felt like they should have spam ganked, because that's the situation. Victor no flash, Victor no QSS, I have Mal's flash and ulti in 30 seconds. There should be 30 red pings pinging Victor right now, pinging his flash as much as you can, saying we're about to make his life a living nightmare. But they just didn't do that. They tried to overforce, and they really lost tempo. And that's one of those situations where, again, Shadowblade Slash is a good team that can try to break into the top 4, but those are mistakes you can't make against a Fever. Those are mistakes you can't make against CB Rush. So for the side of Shadowblade Slash, I would really like them, especially if they're going to opt into these early game junglers and early game team comps. You need to make sure that your early game is a lot cleaner, because if you give one of those mistakes up to the enemy team, a better team will really punish you.
You are absolutely right. And speaking of those better teams, all 3 favorites in the other 3 series going on tonight have taken a game 1 win in convincing fashions. You have a 24-10 win from Death Cards Academy, who have been very surprising and strong this split so far against the newly formed Degenerates Reformed roster. They made a ton of changes, but weren't able to put up a fight against Death Cards. Meanwhile, Fever took a 24-3 kill game against Bucky's. That's a statement right there, because Bucky's have been pretty good so far, but Fever instead say, no, you're battling the top dogs now. They shut them down. And of course, CB Rush also doing the damage here. They take down Divine Ascension Obsidian in 26 minutes. Man, those favorites really shining tonight.
Yeah, they're shining incredibly bright, and that was one of the big things, was that Bucky's last week did face against Shadowblade Slash and had a really dominant 3-0 versus them, and so it looked like they were going to make that push into that top 3 with the CB Rushes and the No Fear Wolves. And Fever had been kind of shaky. They had a pretty rough week too, where they ended up giving up 2 games to Death Cards Academy. So it was one of those situations where Fever was going into this matchup saying, maybe we're not in that top dog status, but having that dominant win in game number 1 really proves that they can compete, and that it's Bucky to the moon is not going to be the play. I know I've gotten some flack on my end saying that Bucky, I'm not a big Bucky proponent. I think that they are a playoff team. I don't know if they're in that top 3 echelon. So I like that my boy Zongi, the trash talker himself, is proving me right, that Bucky might be, in that top 4, top 5 area instead of the top 3.
And I mean, like, we're talking about Shadowblade Slash here. They're the ones who had lost to Bucky's, like you mentioned. The fact that Bucky's get stomped by Fever does not bode well for Shadowblade Slash. I mean, they won 1-0, but that, we're wanting to see a little bit more from them. They're this mid-tier team that, are they going to be able to push in for a possible top playoff spot. They look like a playoff team right now, but are they going to be able to compete once they get there? We'll have to see improvement from them. You called them out for a lot of mistakes against Elventus. Could have been a cleaner game. On the side of Elventus, though, besides banning Malzahar away, what do they need to fix coming in to their game? Do they need to turn around their season quick? Because at the moment, their only wins are against Ninetailed Fox, who have unfortunately left us.
In terms of what they need, I think that try to make these comps a little bit simpler. And I like what they did with the Kaisa Leono, and we saw that Better Chemicals had a really good game on that Leono, especially in those mid-game teamfights, where it felt like he was just hitting stun after stun after stun, just CCing 4 to 3 members in every team fight. But then they had this awkward comp with the Wukong volley where it wants to jump in, but the Wukong either didn't have enough resources or misallocated those resources with the Ravenous Hydra by not being able to cut through a lot of that tanky front line. And so if you're the side of Elventus Amber, I think you try to either take a page from SBS and maybe pick away something like a Malphite that's a little bit easier, just kind of that go button. You want to simplify a lot of those variables down as much as possible, or you try to get Chief on something that he's really comfortable on. He's comfortable on the split pushers, he's comfortable on picks like the Tryndamere. The Yorick is a pick that Chief is really known for, and so I want to see them either opt in for a more simpler teamfight style or go for a style where it's Chief's game that we all live around. Chief's world, and we're just out here making sure that he doesn't get 3-man in the top lane. So I think either pathway is viable. It's just I want them to really kind of limit these variables, and Wukong jungle is a variable that I don't want to see in the next one. Again, I love science. I love the what is it called? Scientific method, but Wukong as an independent variable, I'm good with. Let's go back to something a little bit simpler in the jungle. Maybe a Rumble, maybe a Morgana. I mean, we didn't see any of those top 3 junglers right now, those AP junglers picked on either side.
Yeah, I mean, we are jumping into draft here, but we're trying to figure out what's going on with some of the bans. We see Bard being taken away from Better Chemicals here, who, I mean, you called it, he played wonderfully on the Leona, but we'll see what's going on. Amber hasn't banned anyone, and Shadowblade also missed their second ban, so we might be remaking draft here, or there's some bans going on that we don't know about. Here comes the third missed ban from Elventus, so yeah, something must be going on behind the scenes. We'll get that for you guys. I am looking for, a more standard composition like you were talking about. This sort of kind of trickery that Elventus wanted to play, this last second swap, maybe we can catch them off guard, and that this isn't something that Shadowblade is expecting, and we'll use that to our advantage. It didn't work out. Yeah, go back to basics, go back to fundamentals, and draft a comp that you can just win team fights with and have lane priority with. So those are the 2 big things we're looking for as we head into draft for Elventus.
Dunzi, are you saying you don't want to see Mr. Yorick in this game? I'm a big proponent for Mr. Yorick.
If that's what it takes, if they can pull off the split push, because they do tend to like this, across the map play, but they need to be more disciplined, right? You're calling them out for making plays on both sides of the map. You can't do that. Yorick needs to be able to play safely. If you're going to send resources to the Yorick, then the bot lane better be playing safely. So, I mean, I don't mind it. I'd love to see a good little ghoul master over there digging up some graveyards and split pushing in the top lane, but it's going to be a more challenging win condition.
Yeah, definitely more challenging, but I'm ready for it. I think that the fans are all ready for this, the Ghoul Master to kind of take over and be the one that kind of runs the Rift. I am excited to see what SBS do in game number 2. Again, they don't have to change much up because they did end up winning game number 1, but I do think they could kind of clean up that comp a little bit more. Obviously, we don't expect the Malzahar to be picked, so Void Rifter is going to have to go on to his probably secondary or tertiary champions. We have seen Void Rifter play stuff like the Lissandra in a couple of his games. He also has played champions like obviously the Victor, so taking away, and also Swain has been something that they could pick up. We are going to be transitioning into draft as Elventus Amber first bans the Shen, Shadowblade / top laner.